Alright, good morning everyone. My name is Poe Tan. I'm a background designer and also a prop designer in the industry. I worked about 17 to 20 years in the industry. Been working since 1994. Worked pretty much every studio in Los Angeles that you can mention, except DreamWorks. I haven't touched that. I basically worked on a lot of television animated shows, and also one feature, and I also did work in some games on a game company in the mid 90s to the later part in the later 90s. So pretty much I right now teach, and also I'm developing my own project that's being optioned by a publishing company in Singapore. So today I just wanted to share with you guys my experience and my work, the stuff that I've done. Just recently also graduated on my master's in fine arts. Basically I majored in concept art and illustration, so because I went to school for to do my undergrad in illustration. At that time there was not much of game art or animation except for CalArts, and also Ringling School of Design, which is in Florida, I believe, or Georgia. So things were very different then, but now everyone is realizing that there's a lot of opportunities in the gaming world, the live action films, and also animation, which is continue to thrive, and also takes its route to more of a 3D style, obviously using the 3D as a tool to make all this stuff. So just to an opening of introductions, I just want to show you my overall work and basically what it consists. Sure, is the volume on? Oh yeah, that's good. So that's part of my work.
Nice.
I've also newer things that I've been working on. Some of my project work I can't really show because of the option. The option means someone who's actually paid me to try to use my project or that concept to make it as an entity or an original idea, whether it's a movie, whether it's a game. All those are basically optional elements which I basically have with this publisher, small publisher in Singapore that I'm trying to set up. So without the next thing I would like to show you guys is if I can find it, this my student's portfolio. I thought I had it with me. It's not here, but I can show it to you on the website anyway. Probably in my bag, but anyway, this is my portfolio, and basically, as I was telling you guys, worked on all these shows. I was a little small, I apologize for that. Ben 10, Johnny Bravo, He-Man Masters of the Universe.
2003 version?
I'm sorry?
2003 version? The 2003 version you mean?
Yeah, the 2003 version. I'm not that old because the one that was done in the 70s, I was still a toddler. So with this stuff, basically background, what does a background person do? Background person actually basically their responsibility in an animation unit is basically one of the persons that designs the world, designs the environments, and also creates the mood, right? So if you would look at a movie or a show, imagine the world without backgrounds. Would you want to go see it?
No. Well, like a different background for like a different movie, like a Tim Burton style movie.
Even Tim Burton stuff, he's got background, even,
I mean like Tim Burton stuff with like classic Disney.
Well, the Tim Burton stuff like Nightmare Before Christmas, he will use basic shapes, right, to execute backgrounds. The iconic ledge that when Harry, whereas Jack and Sally meets. So again, when you're doing a background, basically you're also like the co-star of the movie or animated scene. So for example, over here. This was for Tarzan 2, which was a straight-to video, where Tarzan is actually interacting with one of his friends, which is the little gorillas. And as you can see, that there's lighting here. At Disney, as a background designer or a layout person, your responsibility is also to put value into your layouts so that you can indicate to the background painters. Because if you work in a traditional animation unit, which still happens at Disney today, you design the backgrounds, and then someone will paint your backgrounds. Basically bring it to color, bring it to a feel, and also atmospheric value. So ideally, there's a foreground element here, which is a branch, which what we call a foreground, and also this tree and the leaves, right? All this, and also you can see that lighting. It's focused on this area itself very strongly. There's a reason, right? In everything that we do in animation or movie making, whether it's a game, whether it's pretty much a area of specialty, there's always a purpose for doing doing things for, number one, continuity of design, number two, storytelling, number three, visually interesting for the audience, right? So all these elements are very important in that movie making process, whether as I was mentioning, whether it's animation, whether it's live action, and whether it's game. So at the end of the day, you see all these settings that are there for a reason. Now, we also use a lot of research. When some of you guys might be asking, well, what kind of research do you do? Or what kind of research do you have to do? As a background artist, we're not walking visual Google dictionaries, right? We, like for example, this scene here, Tarzan goes to a dead volcano area which has a lot of dried lava, right? My art director actually was sent to Hawaii to actually take a lot of photos and to actually get some books from that national park in Maui, and basically they had a lot of these molten lava and also these textural things. So it's very important that when you're designing a background where it's based on things that are surrounding us, it is very important that we translate the ideas across to the viewers, right? Because what we are, technically we are visual people trying to communicate to our audience, trying to sell our audience, A, what is working, what's happening, B, we're also trying storytelling. So all these elements, as they combine, itself, you have to make your drawings, all your 3D renderings, no matter what you are doing, whether it's pencil, Photoshop, or it could be Maya or a ZBrush. Your responsibilities as a designer, as an artist, is to basically translate all these ideas. So we go to different parts of the jungle. There are obviously, areas that, like this is a slanted area of the jungle area, and then we go to, more areas that, as you can see, lighting is always suggested because there is always a storytelling going to be, or animation happening, so that means there's basically something important that's happening. These are, again, some other areas of the volcano area. So, and for this one, I also worked on Fox and the Hound 2. I'm not sure if some of you guys are familiar with it. It's probably one of Disney's weaker movies. This was also a straight to video. This basically takes part in a farm, right? Takes part also the time era of the 1930s, 20s, somewhere around there. And it's basically about a friendship between a fox and basically a bloodhound. Bloodhounds and foxes usually don't get together because they basically seeking, bloodhounds are trained to hunt down foxes because foxes are considered pests to a farm. So that what happened in this story was these two characters became good friends, and it kind of revolved around the farm. So we did a lot of areas based on the original movie. There was a barn, there was the two characters, both of them had farms, but in this story twist, basically the dogs basically kind of decide, we're going to get away to a circus, we're going to leave, run away from home, and the circus will be a perfect getaway for all of us. So we take you from the farm to basically some of these areas, and this is basically a composite shot of how the characters are overlaid on this background here that I did. So this would be one of a final scene composed together. It's already, obviously this is in grayscale, but the finish was in color, and also the animation was done. So to just show you guys, to kind of inform how backgrounds can influence and also can be very important when it comes to building a world, building an animation piece. Because a lot of people usually they'll say, I want to be a character designer because I want to animate, but you don't see as many people wanting to do backgrounds. And one of my colleagues, he told me, you guys are the unsung heroes because our line knowledge always goes a lot further than a character designer. But I don't agree with that because character animators also have a lot of
they need each other,
tests.
in other words, what you're saying.
I'm sorry?
You think they need each other.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. They need each other. They basically, have to work as a team. And when you go out in the real world, right, the real world scenario, you're working as a team. You're not working alone. So those things are really important to understand. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah. I noticed some Disney some Disney sequels that kind of serve as prequels to the original.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason for that?
It's just they tend to put it more in videos. They'll usually test the market, right? After maybe they're 50% done with a film, they'll usually actually go to schools or invite kids. Obviously it depends on the age group. They'll have the kids come over and test the audience and see how well it does. Like Toy Story, for example. Toy Story 2 was supposedly a straight to video, but it was tested, and it was tested locally, it was tested internationally, and the remarks and also the feedback that they got from the public and the audience was amazing. So they decided to launch it as a feature. So depends on how the response is. Studios do test their products before even completion. Oops. So
Because I've seen the Foxland outfit, I actually like
Not me. I didn't see it.
well, there's a lot of stuff. So if you have time, check it out. If again, the story isn't the strongest amongst the Disney classics, but it still has a lot of beautiful background design and layout and all that good stuff. So this is the entrance to the ringmaster of the circus. He lives in a school bus, right? Because the circus travels around. And we also had a lot of reference based on the 1930s and also areas like this is the farm. So all these things, research was done and research was executed by the studio to pretty much, advance all the elements as we were building. So Cartoon Network, I was at Cartoon Network as a prop designer, also a background designer. I was a prop designer for Johnny Bravo, which I'll show you guys. This one is Ben 10. Some of you guys might know it's an action adventure show where the kid finds a watch, from space, and he becomes all these monsters. Does anyone know?
I've never seen it.
Okay. So
When I was younger, I
Yeah.
decided not to be a big fan of Ben 10 no more.
that's all right. We all grew up, and our tastes, vary. So I'll show you quickly, all these settings. A lot of it's also you have to have imagination when you're designing. When studios pay you, when studios hire you, they don't only hire you for skill, but like when I say basic skills means your basic drawing skills, your basic average, the things that know-how, maybe perhaps a program like Maya, Photoshop. Ultimately, they're also looking for your creativity, because your creativity is basically what you can share and what you can deliver to as part of the team member. So over here, you see this is Ben and his granddad and his cousin. They travel to an alien planet, and you have basically an alien overall setting. So with this, it basically allows us, it's off-world, so we can't really get any resources from a book like about normal buildings. So when you're designing, I always advise students to basically think of shapes, think of forms.
I see what you mean. There's a lot of thorns and
Right.
triangular shapes in those towers.
Exactly. But when you're designing something out of this world or out of the box. You want to understand basic shapes, and when you were kids, anyone played Lego here or built with Legos?
I own a Lego, yeah.
All right, good. So when you're building all those things, what's that? You're actually given basic shapes,
I see.
right? Basic forms, basic things, and when you place it all together, it becomes maybe a spaceship, it becomes a house, it becomes something interesting, right? So ideally, what I really advise you guys is to observe that, or even if you still are building Legos, that's great, because when I grew up, I used to build a lot of model kits. So all those things are very, very helpful.
Yeah, I remember that. Our teacher
yeah.
told us about how the land characters are all distinct shapes, like towers and like blocks.
Exactly. So I had a lot of a huge variety of responsibilities because every episode of the show, Ben, his granddad, and also his cousin would travel in this rattle trap, which is a RV, and they would go places all around the country. So there'll be things like in the mall, there'll be things in a retirement home, there'll be shows that will take us to the western deserts. So at the end of the day, there's all kinds of stuff that needs to be designed, and this is a rattle trap. I basically designed a lot of the interiors, so did even the rattle trap restroom, and I also did a sci-fi episode of the rattle trap that's modernized, the dash, right? All these elements are important. And basically, they travel also San Francisco, and also they have Earth being attacked by aliens. So all these parts of this planet were infected by this fungi. So we had to think of things out of the box, and that's why I always suggest students to bring a sketchbook everywhere you go. You might be able to see something that's cool. Now, with these days, you have your smartphones. You might have a camera, a really good camera with you, and just take a snapshot of it, right? So you get all kinds of ideas. And when you have a chance, go out and sketch, go out and draw. Because why? You're basically building your visual vocabulary. Not only you're practicing to be a better artist, not only you're practicing your craftsmanship, but at the end of the day, you are doing a variety of things, a variety of things that will profit or help you in your skill level, which is very important. Yes?
I'm told that the way to make some environments is just more organic and some more mechanical. How do you make it so that they're kind of both?
Well, it's again, going back to understanding how you put shapes, right? The other thing is with environments is very, very important that you understand perspective, right? Perspective is basically, you're basically creating a grid and understanding the deliverables in perspective, like 1, 2, and 3 point perspective, and using them in your staging, because when you're doing background design, it's not only just drawing. You have to stage. You have to, like here, we're doing key shots for the storyboard artist. My directors requested. We have a design meeting every week, and then he will say, these are the locations I need. The storyboard artist needs all the stuff. We need to design all these so that the storyboard artist can also understand where the location, where the story is taking place, so that they're not there's no continuity of storytelling or design problems. So those are very important. Okay, so we'll go back to some of my and as you can see, this was a game that I worked on in I think 1997, and Cold-Blooded. It was a company 7 Level, which is no longer existent. It's pretty much went bankrupt. Didn't do well. So the game was shelved, and there are times sometimes when you're working on a show for a year or two, and all the stuff just doesn't happen.
So basically, it's canceled.
It gets canceled, yeah. But the work's done, and so as you can see, this is like the gameplay where the background is designed to help the character run through, and there are even the doors, right? The doors are not there because they are animated, so the doors will be almost like an overlay. So ideally, the character could basically the gameplay would take you into, well, the character finding perhaps weapons, character finding perhaps, you know, clues to the next level. So with gameplay, it's slightly different than the TV animation or feature, because a lot of the times you are concentrating on gameplay, because that is ideally what it's built for. So each of it, but the process, the overall process, the design process, the overall idea process, and even the production process is very similar. So I just took that and colored it on my own, and at that time someone else was coloring it. So you have different levels will take you to different worlds, different organic shapes, right? And some of these, my art director really liked Akira, so the animated anime, and we liked how the detail, and also the artist Katsuhiro Otomo, how he detailed his buildings, and the way it was done was very comic book-like. So we decided to go with that style. Obviously, you can see as we progress through my work, there's a lot to. You'll see that I have different styles, because when you go out and work, whether in gaming or a film or animation, one of the things that I cannot stress for more is students being able to adapt.
Different styles?
I'm sorry?
Different styles, you mean?
Different styles, yes, adapt to different styles, because you might be working on this show that's very realistic, and then you might be working on a show that's non-realistic or cartoony, right? Which I'll show you next. So some of these are details to show warehouses or areas that have all cluttered with a lot of machinery, because this is almost like a shoot-up game. So ideally, there's a lot of destruction and stuff like that. It takes a lot of time to draw or render. So let me show you. So here at Sony, I was working at Sony Television. I was doing two jobs. I was working on this show called Anti-Tree in the late 90s, I think 98, 99. And this show had basically an educational aspect of it. Also, the creator was an ex-Disney animator. Now, if you notice, the styles from Ben 10 to Cold-Blooded to Disney, it's changed tremendously.
Yes.
Right? So basically, it's very different. It's as if someone else came and drew this, right? But no, it's all me, because you have to have that attitude of trying to adapt to each different show's art direction, styles, and also expectations. So and sometimes it takes a while to get used to it, and that's why now studios, they issue tests. So they'll test you to make sure that you are able to come and be accommodating to the style of the show, which is really important in production, because in any studio, right, time equals money. Okay, so you can see the styles has that squash and stretch, almost
Cartoony feel.
yeah, very cartoony feel, right? And also the characters, I don't have them overlaid, but they are also very cartoony. And then I did some stuff for Jackie Chan Adventures. Again, the style has changed tremendously again, but I didn't work on these two shows at the same time. But very detailed, very highly, a lot of information, and that's how every show has its different variety. Okay, so I will go a little faster because we're running out. Also worked on Futurama.
Oh, cool. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
the style is very
Like
Simpsons-like. It's realistic, simple, but it still has,
trivial.
yeah, a little bit more detail. It's not as cartoony as what we think,
More
but
graphic. cartoon?
right, more graphic and cartoony, exactly, just like The Simpsons, right? And so that's, basically again a different style of value, and then you have I worked on Leapfrog, which is to do the videos as it's an educational video, again very cartoony, very different,
Letters
right?
there.
The Ladder Factory and because this was the Ladder Factory and the Word Factory, so it's all building, having the kids learn, right?
Oh, so you're building the letter by finding them.
I'm sorry.
So you're saying you build the letter by finding them and
Right. Obviously, this is the concept, and then when the animation and also the full production is done overseas, that's what basically happens. This was another show that I worked for them as a concept. It never took off, but
looks like Dr. Seuss.
what's that?
Looks like it has a Dr. Seuss sort of style.
It does has, but my art director wanted it more like the conventional Mickey Mouse kind of look.
Ah.
So it's very bubbly, and obviously that content is catered for kids, so it needs to be friendly. It needs to be
Simple.
simple, yeah, direct. It needs to be also rounded, where not so much of that sharp edge, element. So at the end of the day, this is like Leap's house, and different shots, a lot of interior factory and room stuff from those the 2 videos that I've done. So and prop design. This is for He-Man,
Oh, I
Masters of the
think
Universe.
these are nice weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
They're iconic.
And then this is the Skeletor's Death Dealer, or his crowd. I'm still putting things together. I just finished my master's in May 20th, and right now I'm building my portfolio. I can't remember what this is called, but this is Man of Arms, one of his
Tanks?
tanks. Yeah, that's a name for all these. And then this is one of the bad creatures. They revised it, and this is also Tila's, almost like a land speeder. So this was one of the episodes that had some of the avian
Creatures?
creatures coming to attack He-Man's home. Weapons, different
It's
kind
simple but
of.
effective. It's like they're multi-cylinders.
Right. So again, very basic shapes. This is like Man of Arms. He's got a lot of different kind of technology and also weapons. So basically, some of these were like I would do something like that, and it will be sent to a 3D person, and they would actually model it and then compose it with animation. Animation was traditional. It was done in Korea. So ideally, it was the concept was mine. And then this, I kind of freshened it up. This was Merman's power generators.
Oh, it's
And
organic, all of it.
basically, I did a couple of ideas. So it's very organic. Again, this is very out of the world.
Oceanic, like ocean aliens. Sort of.
Right, but it's actually generating power for the merman's colony. So with crystals and stuff like that. Again, to get to this, you usually read a script. In every production that you go to, you read a script. You read basically to understand what the script's about, and then you start designing. And then after that, you go to a meeting with a director, producer, and they'll talk about what their deliverables are, what they expect. So These are the things that one needs to understand what to expect when you want to enter the field of animation. So now, bam, very different, right? Very, very different style. Johnny Bravo, my art director, and I, we started designing the cars. Has that 50s, 50s, 60s look. We both, I love vintage cars, so all these elements that we were to bring together was in that fashion of that googie. They have that term googie for that 50s era design. Yeah, so we had a spin-off of Johnny Bravo becomes Fred Flintstone, setting one episode. So the car is made out of wood and rock. So this is like prehistoric Johnny. Yeah. Think of it. Sure.
Got it.
So there was a spin-off of Star Trek. We made a spin-off of Johnny Bravo was Captain Kirk, So it was a lot of fun, and then Johnny becomes like a general. This is some of the backgrounds I did. Special effects, we have to also design that as a prop designer. So, and I did a lot of vehicles and things that were not character based.
Like props?
Yeah, but basically props. So those were my designs, and a lot of automobile. And this was like Johnny with Captain Kirk's little gadget, to talk to the ship. So as you can see, very, very different, right?
I think it's so much style in another genre, the TMNT, in their 2003 version.
Oh, this is the He-Man 2003, not the original. Yes.
I was curious, did you ever do any work for Ed, Edd n Eddy?
No, I was in the same building when they were in production. I was actually on Johnny Bravo when they were doing Ed and Eddy that time, and then I left Cartoon Network and I came back to work for Ben 10 in 2003. So I worked on Ben 10 for almost 2.5 years. I had a stroke, and then it changed my life, and so I started teaching, and I enjoyed teaching this. I really found it awesome to educate kids like you guys, educate anyone who wanted to learn. I had people, because I teach at Pasadena City College, and also Art Institute in San Bernardino. I also taught at Art Center. Especially at Pasadena, I met a lot of different people that just wanted to learn how to draw, that didn't want to necessarily pursue a career in animation or anything, but they just wanted to have a passion of drawing and drawing better. And I've always been able to help them to achieve their dreams. And just like you guys are here trying to learn the tricks of the trade, so that you basically are ready for the world, right? Are ready for what's to come in your career. I'll show you a few things of my personal projects. Give me a second. I kept it. Oops. Just skip over. And if you guys have any questions, please ask.
You worked on DK Entertainment, right?
Yep.
What shows you make?
What shows did I work on?
You worked on Street Sharks?
Street Sharks. Yep, that's right. Dangerous Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll make a Street Sharks film.
It's possible. With CG now, it's really possible to do a lot of things. So, speaking of Street Sharks, I think this was for Street Sharks. I did a lot of backgrounds for it, and I can't remember where I put them. Then this one was for Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. It's actually on Cubo.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah, on Cubo, and my daughter is actually watching that. So, this is something personal that I did. I love comic books also, to just tell you what this is something I did for previous comic buyer's guide. This was a thing for Comic Con, and I believe that they have a guide, and they actually have people submitting their stuff in '98. And then this project, somewhere in around 2000, me and a buddy of mine pitched it to Warner Brothers. We pitched it all around.
Wow, that's
And actually, Warner Brothers wanted to option it, and it was my friend's idea. I helped him design the backgrounds and some of the props, and he didn't pursue it. The money was too little to take. But at the end of the day, we had a very good experience trying to pitch. I've done some packaging design, and these were traditionally done.
Ooh, yeah.
And they were trying to produce like model kits in the future, like more futuristic model kits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll show you a bit of. This is a bit of my personal. I'm sorry, it's kind of tiny.
that's okay.
It's basically the project I'm working on. Some of these I can show, but I can't show too much. But I'm actually going to continue building this
That's awesome.
product of mine.
A spaceship or later on the one on the
Spaceships, they're basically interstellar ships coming, so they're pretty heavy. So some of my stuff, this was for a card game, and some of my ideas as and so I hopefully if the project doesn't become a real entity, then I will make it into at least an art book. Where I Learned is Carmen San Diego. That was one of my first few projects that Deep, worked on. So some of these backgrounds was basically one of my first gigs. So
Why aren't these Carmen San Diego?
yeah, and it's still on Cubo too, which I'm surprised.
Wow.
It still looks pretty good. I also
Hey.
I really like Volkswagen, old
yeah.
Volkswagens.
I always wanted a Volkswagen vehicle.
And so that's part of the vintage Volkswagens from 39 to 40 up to 67. Those are that era of time where Volkswagens appealed to me, the design, also the intent. And basically I started doing t-shirts. I printed some of these. They're in color, I just haven't put in. And I kind
That's
of,
my dream vehicle that you're looking at right now.
well, the bus is, I drive a bus. I didn't drive it today, but I drive it to almost every other day, I guess I can. And those are the things that inspire me. I just wanted to share with you what inspires me. Let me just go full screen on this quickly. So, ever since I was a little kid, just a little bit more about myself, I kind of reversed the whole presentation. All I can remember, as soon as I took a pencil and started drawing, I always loved cars, machines, dinosaurs, sci-fi, and basically comic books also. So those things captured my imagination, from Ultraman to Gundam. I grew up in Malaysia, so we were a British colony at one point, and so I had a lot of British influence, also a lot of Japanese influence, and also American movie influence. One of the things that inspired me was like Gundam, how the mecha was done, and even to Star Wars, to 2080, which is a British publication, comic book, that inspired me a lot to wanting to be an illustrator, wanting to be an artist and a designer. So, when you look at your dreams, look at also the people that you admire, and also look at the things that are around you. The things that really inspire me are like heavy machinery. This is my bus.
My dream vehicle again.
This is my Volkswagen bus.
What's that one?
So these are the trophy trucks that are raced in the desert. So I love off-road racing. I love outdoors, but I also love industrial elements to architecture. and also to nature. Yes.
What was that like being in a British colony?
It's very different from here. When I grew up in school, we had uniforms. Our shoes had to be white. Everything needs to be tucked in. Every Monday we had an assembly. We had ties on. If not, the wardens or the prefects, they call them, basically maintaining those strict rules and guidelines. So I don't think we have that much flexibility compared to being in like a Western school like the United States. Yeah.
I have a question. What's the difference from the machine on the upper left-hand corner?
It's a dragon. They call it a dragon towing utility vehicle in World War II. This is basically, it carries wrecked tanks or tanks that need to be rehauled. So it's basically a huge vehicle.
Wow.
And
they use it uphill to get through hills?
yeah, they basically also, they have like a 50 caliber mounted on it, and sometimes even 250 calibers, so that they can go into war zones and pick up tanks that are stuck or need to repair. So yeah.
What country were you from again?
Malaysia.
Malaysia. How did Malaysia get free from the British?
The British kind of gave the independence to the country basically in '57.
I'm sorry about the airline flight in Malaysia, the Malaysian airline.
Yeah, I don't live there anymore. It's but I do have family there. Yeah, it is unfortunate. Yes.
Yeah, and I go slightly off topic right now. You mentioned that you had to adapt to different styles of artwork from realistic to cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
As a student, sometimes I might get a little careless and want to, jumble things up. Hey, I'm macho, I want to do two at the same time. Has that ever been that situation for you? And because sometimes you bake in elements to give you the script, like you said, and of course you probably need some time to think, simple shapes and what's
right.
up with that. And that time, because time is money, so how much time did it give you that?
Usually they'll give you like a week or two. It depends on who you're working for. Not every studio is the same. That's why I was mentioning it earlier to you guys. Now a lot of studios or a lot of productions, the art directors will issue a test. They'll look at your portfolio, all right? They'll look at it and like, oh, okay, well, this guy seems to be, or this person seems to be able to perhaps come to our crew and do the work. But what they'll do is, so that they don't waste any time and resources, is they issue you a test. So basically, let's say you came to me and you said, I'd like to take the test, or I'm issuing the test for Johnny Bravo. So you have to come close to it in your test. So they'll give you an average of a week. You do the test, you turn it back, they'll review it, and then if they feel that you match, they'll bring you in. And then there's not every production that goes that way. Sometimes knowing people, right? So Santosh, one of your teachers here, he is a treasure trove of connections, right? I mean, even to me, he networks with everyone, and he knows more people than I do. And then sometimes I even ask him, for resources, and you can always ask him, and he can guide you, or feel free to contact me through my website or anything, to just say, hey, you know what, I'm ready to build a portfolio or anything like that, and to get to the next level. So they'll give you the time, or they'll give you the test at the end of the day. So, any other questions? So getting back to this, I love, all these things kind of made me who I am, and also at the same time, as I was dwelling into all these elements, I also started to understand why certain things are built a certain way, certain things are put together a certain way, from nature to the industrial things of how things are built. So obviously the movies that inspire me, you have a whole bunch of things. I definitely encourage you guys not to just be one track, like you say, well, I'll just watch anime, I'm not going to do anything. With the younger generation, I find a lot of my students drawing anime style. I love a lot of things what the Japanese have done in the sense of the backgrounds, in the sense of the props and all that. But when it comes to the figurative proportions, they are a little weak.
Like how
I
some
don't-
men end up more feminine than women.
Well, that and also they're very elongated, and the proportions are not realistic. So those are the things that I always suggest to students to avoid, because it sometimes will be very helpful that you know stay away from stuff like that. So yeah, so these are some of the things that inspire me, you know, from movies to things around where we live. If you can travel, you know. That's ideally the thing that I encourage. You can go and visit a national park, go, you know, camping, and to just sit down and look at an environment and learn from it and draw from it. It's very beneficial. Yes.
Is it also helpful when you're improving on drawing? Does little fan art essentially help you?
Yeah. Fan art does help.
I know what you mean.
Fan art actually sometimes helps you in branding you. I know an artist that actually, I'm not going to name names because this is recorded. And he actually he's a very prominent artist in the comic world, and all he does, he's done a lot of comic books, but he's, you know, A-list artist. He went to Comic-Con, and Comic-Con lasts from Wednesdays to Sunday, right? He made $70,000 in four to 5 days. Because he does sketches and all that stuff. So, you know, when you say fan art, usually you can open a booth, or you can, you know, if you're really proficient, you can even put it in your DeviantArt or any of your websites and say, I'll take you know, a sketch, and I'll charge this much, and if people like your work, they'll pay for it.
Yeah.
It's called building your reputation.
I'm sorry?
It's called building your reputation.
Right. It's you know, so it's like almost like a freelancer gig. So.
And I've been studying like various, you know, animators. Like my personal favorite animator is Don Bluth. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he actually had this really good philosophy called monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
And basically, how he learned to draw is he would copy, you know, other artists to see how their style was.
Right.
And that's how he got better at drawing.
Yeah.
You know, I figured I could try that method as well.
No, definitely. This is styles. You know, look at the people that you admire. Look at the people that you think can inspire you and find out the ways they work, why they do certain things. Don Bluth was definitely a very excellent and also legendary animator.
Yeah.
You know, so those are the things that I always encourage, you know, to look at people who you think, you know, that you could learn from, and that's very ideal. Any other questions? Do you guys want to wrap it up, or because I know at 1 you guys had something?
We have to do lunch.
Okay.
There is some.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Are you good?
Give him a round of applause, guys.